YouTube, what is up? How is everybody doing today? We're gonna be jumping into the band called Fallujah with a song called The Void Alone. I know of this band only because my other half absolutely likes this band, or loves this band, should I say, whichever way you want to go about it, man. So I've heard a couple of songs, nothing I've reacted to. This will be my first ever reaction to them. Like, my first time breaking down the lyrics, understanding them properly, like not just hearing them or about them or little bits of songs from them, and like, you know what I mean. So gonna be interesting. And yeah, man, without further ado, let's go. I don't know whether I've heard this or not, but I'll definitely be able to tell you what this songs. I don't think so, from the name alone, but I could be mistaken on that. Man, it's very quiet and cool. I love that it has like a lot of progressive elements, but it's also purely tech death. It's just like straight tech death with like, I don't know, the way the guitar sound very progressive to me. Like in terms of like, you know, the tuning and like the way they've been mastered, it very much sounds like progressively tuned, even though it's totally tech death, which is interesting, which is kind of cool to listen to as well. To be fair with you, man, but still, let's see. Compulsion and numbness become the only way that I can survive, man. So compulsions to do things and being numb to everything around you, to everything that bothers you, is the only way that he can survive, or they can survive. This moment is the closest thing I will ever have to paradise. So yeah, it's a moment in time, something's happening, something big is happening within this person, this being's life, whichever way he wants to go about it, right? So the colour reflects as the night projects, a glitch in the frame for this life of excess. Tell me secrets of life and death, for I foresee my grave. Like, everybody can foresee their grave, that's a given. If you live, therefore you die, that's kind of a, like, it's a thing that has to happen. If one thing happens, the other thing has to happen, man. And yeah, so, like, the colour reflects as the night projects, so, as in the colours of your life project over your mind as the night projects, because generally when you're in a state of numbness, when you're in a state where you're holding back so much, you're very much unable to sleep, you're very much an insomniac, and it kind of like messes with you. And then a glitch in the frame for this life of excess, so he's exceeding everything, as in either like food or company or whatever, he's just living everything to excess, which is never a good thing. It means you're overindulging in a lot of things and overstimulating your body, your mind, whichever way, and probably like a lot of other things that I can go into, but let's continue. The song sounds cool. I wish it was in better quality, personally, but still. It's still good though. Like, the vocals are very one-dimensional, but they've got passion on, so it doesn't matter. Oh man, yeah, even the solo sounds very progressive. And it's like, you know, the way it's like produced. Sounds very progressive. I like it though. It's a very cool song. I love how the figure's like just like nodding instead to the music. Can't blame him, to be fair. Whoa, we've got some cleans, man. Damn, okay. Not what I was expecting. Alright then, so before we get into the rest of this, man, let's give some theories. So, who is she? Like, who is speaking to her? Like, is this like the cosmos? Is this the universe? Is this a person? Is this a conscience of sorts? Man, I have no idea. That's the question, isn't it? So, let's see. Forget the past or be swarmed with regret. Yeah, obvious, that's self-explanatory, right? A pulse in the veins as I wait for the end. Fighting fear, I wait in agony. Seeping into the soil, rust upon the coil. I am swarmed with self-contempt, man. So he's very much into his depression, into his, like, darkness. His darkness is overwhelming him. And he's just waiting for the end. He's either hurt himself or planning to hurt himself. Or in the process of bleeding out in the process of it all. And just going through it that way. Never again, no, never again. I don't want to face the void alone. The warmth in me swallowed whole, so yeah. Like I said, down into his, like, darkness, into his void, whichever way you want to go about it, man. Then we go into the sequence of the frames. A young child alone, speak to me so gracefully. You saw me through the lights and we had only time. Like, it's almost like a person or a thing or something is speaking to him from a completely different space, a completely different time, or a completely different, maybe like from a next path. Kind of like with Epica, where they talk about like what happens when your energy transfers from your body onwards. Kind of similar to that. Maybe he's imagining things. Maybe his mind's going a little bit haywire because of the darkness and everything else. Maybe it's something inside talking to him, man. There's so many ways we can go about this, to be fair with you, but it's interesting. Like, it's fun because I can literally just like try to think about what would happen, like what's causing this. Like, is it a literal thing? Is it a spiritual thing? It's got so many things you can really put into it. That's always fun with music for me, man. That's why I love reacting to stuff, because it just gives me a nice view on so much stuff about it. And yeah, man, let's go. The song is really beautiful there. It's like got so many tones to it that just make it work really, really well, in my opinion. Definitely a good request from Patreon, man. Oh, going into his highs, man, that's cool. I was thinking we're going to stay within this, like, lows to mid, whichever way, man, but okay, let's go. Damn, that is a way to describe that right there. Home is but a place, a cage and a frame, man. Damn. That's deep, man. That is deep. We got so much to go into with this. This is gonna be crazy, mate. Let's, I think we're ending now. I think it's literally like... Yeah. Okay, then. I was like, we still got so much more to go of the song. Where's it all coming from? That's strange, I know, man, but whatever way. I guess Nuclear Blast put their own stuff at the end of it, so whichever way. So yeah. So this is like a young child alone, like, speak to me so gracefully. So what I'm assuming, right, is that he's thinking back to his childhood, that most of us, if not all of us, generally are like, we still feel like we're kids, even when we're in our 30s and 40s and 50s and so on, man. Yes, we're adults and we do adult things, and it's why we see a lot of things in places like Twitter and other places that where we see, like, adulting is hard because we call it adulting because we don't see ourselves that way, regardless of how old we get. I think all of us in some respects are always going to be that childlike minds, but we're going to have a part of that to us, the part of naivety, because I believe truly that if you lose that inner child, that inner kid inside you, you become like a more worn out adult. You become more less grounded. Like, you begin to take the world too seriously, to forget that the purpose of this life is to not exist anymore. That the only way to get out is just to not be alive anymore, right? So if you remember that no matter what we do, even if we die, no matter what, that at the end every single one of us is not going to be here, then why should we take this world so seriously? Why do we create wars and have things about money and all this other stuff, right? Which lead to things like depression and darkness and so much other stuff. And you get the idea, right? Paradise awaits as I unfold bleeding days into the soil. Like, the bleeding days into the soil is just him bleeding out completely. Like, paradise awaits, he's passing on from this world, his energy is transferring, if you will. Forgetting the child you always were. Becoming the man takes more than words. Yeah. Like, that's what I mean, like, forgetting the child. Once you forget that, then you become a true adult, which I believe is a bad thing, personally. I would hate to be, like, without those things I love, man, without loving, like, all the games I love, and without loving all these other things that just kind of remind you and still have those things there, but also having to do adult things at the same time. And it takes more work to be a man because you have to like deal with more things, with more stresses, with the way the world is, with like taxes and other stuff, and just the world being dark and scary, and just you kind of have to learn to survive, defend and protect yourself, your family, have children if you want to, and all of those things as well. Then hate the way my thoughts they sway. Home is but a place, a cage and a frame. So yeah. He's feeling like he's bleeding out into the soul, but at the same time he's trapped within his head, within his home, within everything else. He sees his home as a prison, as a place where he can't escape from it. He'd rather be bleeding out into the soil. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. The song doesn't really say it, it's more up to your own interpretation of what you want to do. Like, what I try to do with reactions is just to put my own thoughts, my own spin onto everything, right? To be able to be like, you know, it could be this. But for me, I imagine he's literally bleeding out somewhere. Into the soil, as it were. And just moving on. His energies moving, like, forward, moving on, whichever way you want to go about it, man. Just going on to the next plane of existence, if you will. So, either way. Interesting. I love that, man. Like, progressive themes mixed with tech death is something that I don't hear that often, and Fallujah do it so well. Like, forgive me if I'm butchering their name, but damn, this was cool. This was like so deep, way deeper than I was expecting, and I enjoyed it thoroughly, man. So either way, I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a wonderful day, evening or night, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Have a wonderful day.